Justice Mogoeng, my question is religion-based.
Questions about Mogoeng's religious views also dominated his interview that was conducted by the Judicial Service Commission in 2011. Some commissioners expressed concern about some of these views.
I find it odd at best that you, as motivation for your statement that you must obey the law made by your government, that you refer to the passage that you refer to and which I've read. If one looks at that passage in isolation and you try and dissect and understand what it says there literally, it appears to me to be in conflict with your oath of office, and it also appears to me to impact on your independence. And I would like you to comment on that, please.
Mogoeng clarified his remarks.
Context is critical here. Commissioner, I was coming from the position that criticism has been leveled against me on the basis that because I'm a Christian, it is very likely that the rights, the constitutional rights of a community such as the gay and lesbian community or gay and lesbian people, which is a right that conflicts with the Bible or the provisions of the Bible, the likelihood exists, according to the criticism, that I was going to uphold the Bible in total disregard of the constitutional rights of other people insofar as there is a conflict. Now, the point sought to be made, broadly speaking, is the following: that even the Bible expects a Christian to obey the law. For instance, you may be in any country, whether Zimbabwe or wherever, you may be even a ratepayer, and there may be an ordinance or the law that says you must pay the rate taxes. And your attitude might be, I don't want to recognize this government. I didn't even vote them into office. Let them go with their own laws. The context is, it doesn't matter whether that's a Christian government or not a Christian government. As long as there is a law that must be obeyed, you are duty bound to obey that law until such time that it is repealed. As for my government, it was not in any negative sense. I'm very much alive to the fact that it is the people of South Africa who made the Constitution. And I was very much alive within the context of the controversy that was already brewing at the time when I made that statement. This is a unanimous judgment that I have written.
The top Constitutional Court judge is now leaving office with an unresolved case with the JSE over his religious utterances in public. This relates to his pro-Israel comments he made at a webinar hosted by an Israeli newspaper last year, which led to a complaint laid against him with the JSE.
In this webinar, he clearly contradicted government policy on Palestine by saying that criticizing Israel was going against the will of God. The Judicial Service Commission agreed with us, and Justice Mogoeng ordered the Chief Justice to issue an unconditional apology for knowingly becoming involved in political controversy, which is in contravention of the Judicial Service Act.
Thank you.
But the outgoing Chief Justice remained unapologetic.
I will not reject my God. I will not apologize for believing in my God. I will not apologize for being a Christian. I will not apologize for prayer. I will not apologize for holding onto the word of God. I will never. Even if 50 million people can march every day for the next 10 years for me to retract or apologize for what I say. I will not do it. I will never say I hate anybody or any nation. I will never. There will therefore be no retraction. There is nothing to retract. There will be no apology. Not even this political apology that in case I have offended anybody without meaning to offend them, for that reason I will not apologize for anything. There is nothing to apologize for. There is nothing to retract. I can't apologize for loving. I can't apologize for not harboring hatred and bitterness. I will not. If I perish, I perish.
He later appealed within the JSE against the finding and the decision of the Judicial Conduct Committee.
SABC's coalition made a submission to the appeal stating that there were no grounds to challenge the detailed report made by Justice Mogoeng. The last we heard was that the appeal was heard in June, but that the appeal panel was still considering the matter. It is clear that the decision has been delayed until the Chief Justice's term has come to an end. However, we say that the matter cannot rest here. How can we have a situation in which the highest judicial officer in our country can make public comments that contradict government policy and contradict our constitutional values, be ordered to apologise and simply refuse to do so? How can we allow the Chief Justice of a post-apartheid South Africa to defend a colonial state that discriminates against the indigenous Palestinian population, that occupies its land, that bombs and kills civilians in Gaza, forcibly removes people from their homes in Jerusalem, shoots, maims and arrests children, in short, a racist apartheid state? How can we let him get away with it?
The outgoing Chief Justice has also received unwavering support from pro-Israeli lobby groups.
We wish the outgoing Chief Justice well as he finishes his 12-year term at the helm of the Constitutional Court of South Africa. He is someone who refused to buckle to pressure from divisive groups in this country who did not like his comments on impartiality about playing a positive role for South Africa in bringing peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Simply because he did not take an anti-Israel position, he was targeted and vilified for saying that South Africa has a positive role to play and that there should be peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Well, it goes without saying that if he had taken an anti-Israel position, then all these groups that made so much noise would be absolutely silent and their silence would be deafening. But because he's promoted peace and dialogue and communication, he was targeted. So we are very glad that he refused to buckle to this pressure, that he refused to apologize, and that he can leave his term with integrity, with impartiality, and with judiciousness. And we thank him for upholding the values of the Constitution, and we wish him well in his endeavors in the future.
A legal expert says Mogoeng's legacy will be overshadowed by his conservative religious views.
When Justice Mogoeng was appointed as Chief Justice, there were many critics of the appointment who claimed that the Chief Justice was going to be lacking independence, that he does not have strong judicial skills, and largely the Chief Justice proves the critics wrong, showing independence, strong leadership, and the like. Unfortunately, Chief Justice also, like any other judge, is bound by the Code of Judicial Ethics, which says that if you're a judge, you cannot get involved and make statements that will be politically controversial. And here the Chief Justice has unfortunately strayed over the line. Firstly, making statements about vaccines and the safety of vaccines, and secondly, making pro-Israel statements. Now, these statements were both influenced by the Chief Justice's strong religious beliefs that must, of course, be recognized. But in terms of the Code of Judicial Conduct, your religious views doesn't give you a free pass not to comply with the Code of Conduct. And this is where the Chief Justice strayed over the line. making statements that clearly were politically highly controversial.
It's unclear whether the JSE will pursue Mogoeng even after his retirement if his appeal is dismissed. And the tenure of the 60-year-old Mogoeng Mogoeng officially comes to an end at midnight on Monday. Mercedes Besant, SABC News, Parliament.